Hello and welcome to our spooky Halloween edition of the Library News Podcast. Our podcast gives you all the latest news of what's going on with the library service, pointers, advice, and general shenanigans. My name's Paul English. I'm the library team leader at both London campuses.
I'm Eva. I'm the library learning advisor at both London campuses.
And I'm Annie. I'm the library learning advisor at Manchester.
So how have you guys been over the last month?
I've been great, thank you. October is my favourite month of the year, so I'm very glad that it's here.
Yeah, it's still busy, but not as busy as it was in the inductions, which is quite nice.
It has started to calm down a bit, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it. Although again, I've been on holiday, but this time just in the Lake District. I know. I don't know how it happens, but I seem to have a lot of holiday.
You're just on holiday every minute. I mean, Eva will slave away here while you're.
I know. Picking up your slack.
It's well earned, I can tell you. But as it is October and it is your favourite month of the year, Annie, I want to know if you've ever had anything spooky going on in the library since you've joined us.
Well, the thing is, Manchester's quite a new building, certainly a new campus at least, so it's not very spooky. We don't really have any spooky stories.
Eva, anything for you?
I feel like, Bloomsbury's slightly an older building. I don't think I'd want to be stuck here at night by myself.
I can understand.
I feel like it's got quite a creaky kind of vibe to it, but nothing so far. Anyway, but I'm not really that scared of ghosts or anything. I feel like if I met a ghost, I think we'd get on quite well. So
I was speaking to Eva about this earlier, saying I am literally petrified of ghosts. Like, I can watch any horror film, but if it's supernatural, I absolutely just cannot cope.
Yeah, and I'm all right with the supernatural stuff. It's more like the gory kind of serial killer stuff that would scare me more. But then I love true crime.
Yeah, we're the complete opposites. It's so funny.
Just going back to the library, because Eva, you're right that Bloomsbury could be one which is looked at as being a sort of creepier campus because it's a bit of an older building and you've got random weird staircases which seem to lead to nowhere. But the story I have, I've been here a while now, so I've got one story which, like Manchester, Moorgate is more of a modern building, so it's surprising that it actually happened at the Moorgate campus. It was probably like we used to be open till like 8 p.m. Like the library was staffed until 8 p.m. and I'd gone down to facilities, which is the basement, and to avoid walking back through the library just so you can go straight to the offices, you can just follow the corridor along. Now, there'd been some sort of lighting difficulties, shall I say? So I got to this corridor. There's several double doors that you have to go through. And I started, pushed open the first one, and I could notice down at the back of the corridor there was, the lights were flickering a bit. And obviously there was some maintenance that desperately needed to be done. Got through to the next set of double doors, lights flickering a little bit more, and I saw something sort of flying around. Final set of double doors, pushed them open, and before me, covering the entire, and remember this was lit up with just these flickering white lights. The entire wall was covered in flies. It's just absolutely covered, buzzing around you. And you know what? I have absolutely no idea where they. I'm sure an explanation was given to me, but it was just, yeah.
See, that would really freak me out actually, because that's just, why are they there? Especially
exactly.
The basement.
Just
that is very like supernatural sounding, or like kind of apocalypsy.
Yeah.
like
exactly.
like a swarm of something. I feel like that's not great.
But yeah, that's the spookiest thing I've probably had happen on campus. But yeah, I'm glad to say, and this is I'm gonna say this is a brilliant segue, even if I say so myself. Um, I'm glad to say that since then, Moorgate has actually had a lovely refurb.
That's a great segue.
Thank you,
Well
thank
done.
you. Along with Moorgate, Nottingham and Bristol have also had some refurbishment going on. For Moorgate, we've had the cyber cafe done up. So it's a hell of a lot better looking. It's got lots of pods. It's got some nice collaborative areas to work
Yeah,
in. It's got
I
some
went
good communal seating as well.
I went down to have a bit of an explore yesterday because I hadn't really seen it, and it's just so if you don't really want to sit in the library because it's actually not technically part of the library, you can go sit down there. There's really lovely big tables, and they've got these cool benches with some like padded seating. So if you prefer to work somewhere that's a little bit noisier, that's probably a good place to sit, don't you think?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. It's the same thing, I think, Nottingham, because I mean, all three of these campuses have done basically done doing their having these little refurbs because they're trying to create better spaces for students to be able to work and study in. And Nottingham's refurb, I think, has gone not just done facilities like their sort of cafe equivalent, but they've done decked out areas around, I think, in the reception area. But they've also actually had a bit of a refurb with the library. I think you should be, if you were on our Twitter feed, we've posted pictures. And if you're not on our Twitter feed, you should be on our Twitter feed. But if you wanted to have a look at some pictures, we've posted some of the Nottingham, Moorgate, and Bristol. Bristol's one is just, I think they've completely redone their library area to modernised it a bit, is what I am led to believe. It certainly looks like or certainly from the reaction of the Bristol library team, they've had to put in a lot of work.
We were constantly getting messages from the library team saying, "Oh, sorry, I'm gonna have to move some boxes around now." So I think they're very happy that that work is all complete now.
As I mentioned earlier, if you want to check out the pictures of all these refurbs, then you can look at our Twitter page, or you can check out the newsletter. It's not in our current edition, the October one, but it will be in the November edition, so do have a look there. Now, talking of the newsletter, in the current edition, in our October edition, we do have something which I think is probably quite useful for everybody. It's the current awareness alerts.
Yeah, we've had lots and lots of inquiries about this, haven't we, Annie?
We have.
If you don't know what a current awareness alert is, it's basically something that you can get on Lexis Library. Sorry, it's called Lexis Plus now, and Westlaw. And basically what they do is alert you to any new information around an area of law that you're interested in. So it will alert you to any news stories or any case development or development in the law. So it will keep you up to date with all of that. If you want to set up a current awareness alert, or you want to find out where the guides are to set them up, go to library.law.ac.uk. You select the collections tile from the front page, then you'll select the law tab, and then you'll just basically have to scroll down to create a current awareness alert. And there's a couple of links there, one for Lexis Plus and one for Westlaw UK, and you can set those up.
Also in this month's newsletter, we've got a bit on LinkedIn Learning. So if you're a ULaw student or a staff member, you can access LinkedIn Learning. And there's loads of courses on there that you can use for free to learn about a whole host of things. So definitely check that out if you're on LinkedIn. And if you're not, then get an account.
So what kind of courses are available there? Is it like specific to law, or is it other things? Is it like
No,
different
there's
technical aspects?
It's more like personal development stuff. So there's a lot on kind of like time management, just any of that kind of thing, like stuff to make you more productive. There probably is some like specific to law ones, but it's definitely not just for law. It's for like any kind of teaching, all of that kind of stuff.
I used to use this a lot in my old job, and there's loads of stuff. If you struggle with presentations like I used to, there's loads of stuff on sort of public speaking videos on there, so which can be quite good because obviously you can use that when you're doing a presentation and stuff for class. So it's there's so much on there actually. There is loads and loads of stuff. So even if you just have a look, you'll probably stumble on something that's quite good.
Yeah, we've got different collections on there as well that are worth checking out.
So let's get back to our spooky theme. I believe there is a new Halloweeny playlist that we've got going.
There is indeed. Our Queen of Halloween, Annie, has helped us select a fantastic Halloween playlist, which we've just called Halloween.
Yeah, I think this
That is original.
is our strongest, I'm not going to lie.
It is really good. I listened to it while I was working the other day, and it's not all just the cheesy, you know, spooky songs in there, although that we do have some
Thriller,
Monster
like
Mash
that.
and Ghostbusters. There are actually some really good songs in here.
Yes, it's not just like your kind of cheesy party playlist. It's a lot more kind of subtle Halloween vibes. Although we do have a couple of cheesy ones on there.
Yeah.
Like we've got the Halloween theme, we've got the Halloween town theme. We've got the Monster Mash, you know, the classics, but we have also got kind of some more low-key ones that you might not have heard of. So definitely check it out.
Be the soundtrack to your spooky season.
Of course, there's only a couple of days left now.
I know.
Not sure when this is going up, but it might actually already be Halloween when you're listening to this. So it's never too late. It's never too late to be spooky.
From Halloween to bonfire night, it's that whole week is
Like a
is
grace
spooky
period.
season. Yeah. Sticking with our spooky theme, we're going to move on to the spookiest books we've read. So what's some of the spookiest books you've read recently? Perfect.
Yeah.
So what are some of the spookiest books you've read recently?
Well, I'm a very seasonal reader, so I read like beach books in the summer and then spooky books in the autumn. I'm reading a book called Horns by Joe Hill, who's actually the son of Stephen King.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a massive Stephen King fan, so I wanted to read his son's books as well, which I have read a few of them. There's one called Heart-Shaped Box, which is really good. But Horns is actually a film as well with Daniel Radcliffe in London.
Oh, nice.
All right.
But I haven't seen the film. It's from like 2013. But this book's about basically someone who wakes up with horns growing out of his head.
Okay.
And it means that he can hear kind of like people's darkest thoughts. They'll like
Oh my God.
speak them aloud to him.
That sounds great.
But like they don't really realize that like they're telling him, if you know what I mean. So he can hear people's thoughts, but they're all like really bad thoughts about him. And he's basically a suspect in his ex-girlfriend's murder. And yeah, that's kind of all I'm up to really. So I've not finished it yet, but I'll let you know how it ends.
That sounds so
Yeah,
good.
that does sound quite good actually. I'm not sure they're particularly spooky books, but I might have mentioned them in previous episode. But I do read the Rivers of London series, which is about a policeman who discovers a magical underworld in London. Particularly the first book, there's quite some spooky stuff going on because there's, as you mentioned earlier, the horror of ghosts really is prominent in the first books, which is called Rivers of London. And it's basically people getting possessed by ancient spirit called Punch, which is obviously based on Punch and Judy. And it's sort of a gradual possession of a body and then sort of starts to deform them. And it's really quite creepy, but it's also quite light and funny as well at the same time. And the description of London and the streets of London and the horrors that you can find there it's really well done. I really like those books. So what have you been reading anything, Eva?
Well, I'm going through a bit of a true crime era at the moment. So I'm literally just sort of consuming anything sort of true crimey. And I was browsing while I was doing a shelf check in Bloomsbury. I came across a book called The Crime Museum Uncovered. So bit about me, my dad works for the Metropolitan Police, and when he was younger he was telling me that they have a crime museum that's only exclusive to people who work for the Met, and it's dubbed the Black Museum because it's full of all the sort of relics from past crimes. So they've got loads of stuff in there about like Jack the Ripper, old nooses that they used to hang people with, and like really gruesome bits from crime. And before now, I'd only heard stories about it, and when I found this book, it's inside the special collection at the Crime Museum. And it's really interesting. Like they've got things in here like what are they called? The death masks. So when sort of notorious murderers were hanged, they would make a mask of their face, and these are in the Black Museum. So I've been sort of really reading this on the sly while I've been working. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting, they've got loads on Dr. Crippen. So I don't know if anyone knows this, but there was a notorious killer who lived opposite Bloomsbury campus for a while called Dr. Crippen, and he murdered his wife. It was one of the first killers that was tracked down by wireless telegraphy. He was basically found on a ship, and they took him back. But it was a really big case back in the day. And there's a whole section in this book dedicated to Dr. Crippen and what they have in the Black Museum based around this case. So there are things like the warrant that was served. They've got the spade that he used to bury his wife in his garden. Like it is, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a light book to read. There is some quite gruesome stuff in here, but it is really incredibly interesting. So this is a hard copy book. There is one copy at Bloomsbury. So obviously, as I was saying, Dr. Crippen, his case was quite big back in the day. And obviously, he's got a connection to the Bloomsbury campus. But did you know that you can actually read the case on Westlaw? We have access to the old case and the old law reports on Westlaw. So to access it, all you need to do is go onto Westlaw, go onto cases and type in R.V. Crippen Harvey Hawley, and you'll be able to read a true crime connection to London Bloomsbury campus.
There's a couple of other cases we've been having a look around for some spooky cases in preparation for this podcast. We've got a couple of other ones. Annie, I think you picked out a case.
Yeah, so our second creepy case is called House Share with a Poltergeist. So in American law, a New Yorker bought a house in the village of Nyack, but was unaware that according to folklore, this property was possessed by a poltergeist. So the crux of this case is, can a successful argument be made that the house is really haunted? So what do you guys think?
What do you think, Eva?
I think I don't see why not. But then the thing is, like, if you could almost make that up. Do you know what I mean? Like you could say, "Oh, I don't want to have this house anymore. There's a ghost in the house," and there's actually not. You just don't like it. So I probably say no.
It depends on how can you prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you can't. Nobody's really going to say in law that a ghost really is haunting a house, because the supernatural, as fun as it is to maybe believe that things can happen, rationally you're going to say probably it's not going to happen.
And you could use that to get out of anything. Like, oh, I've robbed a bank, a ghost made me do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't see how a successful argument can be made. I guess to find out more, you need to go to Hine Online, where you can read about this case, and you can find Hine Online from the databases menu.
We've got one more spooky case. Paul, it's your spooky case, is it not?
It is my spooky case. So I've got a question for you to kick it off with, and it's basically the scenario. What would you do if you were one of 3 people trapped in a small boat with no rescue or food on the horizon?
I'd fish.
I'm assuming that they eat each other. Don't want to jump the gun, but
Well, this case is actually called Cannibalism on the High Seas, so I think you're onto something here, Annie.
gives it away, doesn't it? I mean, I'm personally vegan, so I don't know about cannibalism.
I don't know about cannibalism. It's kind of gross.
It's quite an extreme thing to talk about on a university podcast in a way.
It's fine. Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
It's spooky.
Anything goes on Halloween.
But this scenario did actually play out in 1884, when 2 decided murder was the only way they could survive. And I think from that murder, they then ate said person. Which,
Ooh.
Imagine
I mean,
being the other person though. Like imagine being the third person. You'd feel really ganged up on.
yeah, it's well, you would. And it's like, why
I
am
mean,
I
you
so
would.
tasty?
Yeah, it's like why me?
So if you want to read more about this case, you can just go to Westlaw, you select cases, and under the parties field, type in R v Dudley and Stevens.
So we've just gone through some spooky cases. Now we're going to have a look at some spooky laws. Now on the University of Law blog page, they have written this really great article, Spooky Laws Still in Place Today. So there's submissions from different campuses on all these different laws that are really weird, but they are definitely all still in place today. So do you want to go through our favourites?
Okay, so I've already picked one. It's who you going to call Mr. Speaker. So this is from Kaylee Ashman, who is from a ULaw online campus. And this law is about not being legally not dying in the Houses of Parliament. I mean, it's arguable that you could say there's been a lot of dying in the Houses of Parliament over the last couple of months. But apparently, under the Coroners Act in 1887, dying is illegal in the Houses of Parliament. Anyone whose body is lying within the limits of any of the King's palaces, or within the limits of any other house where His Majesty is then residing. Due to the fact that Parliament is classed as a royal palace, the convention arises that no parliamentarian dies until they're actually in an ambulance. So there's no worries about having any ghosts in Parliament.
That's so interesting, actually.
How are they
Really quite
enforcing that?
weird.
Because if you're dead, who is crime against?
Yeah, I mean, you can't help if you die as well.
Like,
Like,
what are they going to? Who are they charging?
I don't know. What about maybe if you die, but then you get resuscitated in the ambulance? Maybe they'll come for you.
They come in with handcuffs.
Yeah, exactly. Well done on surviving. You're going to jail. So what's your one, Annie?
So mine is from Tegan Williams, who's also an online campus student, and her one is called Taxi for Rabid Dogs. So under London bylaws, which ensure the ease of travel and safety on the transport system, it is illegal for any cab in the City of London to transport rabid dogs or corpses. This was to try and prevent disease in London spreading through transport. And this act wasn't actually ever repealed, so it's technically still legislation to this day.
Oh.
So keep your rabid dogs away from the taxis, basically.
I mean, to be fair, it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Probably
Yeah.
should
does.
still be enforced.
But
I mean,
also,
I don't
like,
really know, like, is rabies still a problem? Maybe.
I
think
think so. But then,
occasionally-
how would you get a rabid dog in a taxi? It's not like it can hail it itself.
Also, is it like the corpse of a dog or the corpse of a person?
Oh, maybe.
Mm.
Kind of open-ended there. It's just in the City of London as well. So does that mean in Manchester I can have a rabid dog in a taxi?
Yeah, I think so. I think even like where we are in London, we could probably have a rabid dog in a taxi because we're not in the city.
Oh yeah, that's
But
a good
at
point. Yeah.
Moorgate, you wouldn't be able to because that's technically in the city.
Interesting.
So what's your one, Eva?
So my one was submitted by Karina Osman in the Leeds campus, and it's called A Ban on Dying. So the French town of Sarparens has had some major issues with people wantonly dying and then expecting to be buried. So the mayor issued a proclamation that basically forbid any people from dying within the city limits if they hadn't already purchased a burial plot. So basically, if people ignored this and die, they'd be severely punished. But again, how are you going to punish them if they're dead?
It's pretty difficult. I mean, did they not have any sort of awareness that perhaps it was going to be slightly difficult to punish someone if they were already dead?
Maybe they thought that they could punish them in the afterlife, but then again, I don't understand it. I don't understand. But
I'm thinking, like, does it fall to like their family, or like, does it
maybe
pass on to like a spouse? I don't know.
We'll never know. But it's still in place, so people in Sarparens, don't die without booking your place first. So if you want to read some more of these spooky cases, this is on the University of Law blog. Just type in spooky laws and it will come up. It's a 5-minute read, but it's very interesting.
So I think we're now all set up for Halloween, or I hope we've helped you get set up for Halloween. You can find us on Twitter. That's at ULaw Libraries. The next newsletter is out at the beginning of November. So we're off now to go and carve our pumpkins. We hope you enjoy Halloween, and if it's not for you, then we hope you enjoy the rest of October. So we're off now, and we'll say goodbye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Happy Halloween.